Hello guys, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. It's Christian from Emotions in Wine. So today the second episode about Alto Adige. Is it really the European alternative to Burgundy? So we had the final conclusions. The first one, by the way, if you missed it, the link is below in the description, was about the introduction of the region and the Chardonnay. Of course, with the Pinot Noir we touched the key comparisons, and it's very popular already, the Pinot Noir from this region, not just in Italy, even abroad. As usual, two wines from two wineries, the same concept. As I said before, the realities in Alto Adige are mainly family-owned estates, quite small or medium maximum, and cooperatives. We have two also today, both very sustainable, both work a lot in the direction. That is a bit the trend of the region in general, even the cooperatives more and more. So the region is mainly for white wines, as I said before, but Pinot Noir represents the 10% of grapes farmed in Alto Adige, which is a lot, considering that about 60% is whites and 40 reds, and 10% of the total is Pinot Noir, means that it's really one of the top parented grapes, even compared to the whites. And the area is quite restricted because it's the southern part of the region. As we said before, that is the most interesting also to compare to Burgundy. So it's a relatively small area from Bolzano, the town, south, going to Trentino province, and 10% is a lot. That is a confirmation more that is a very important grape. So we are talking about historical wineries. So Girlan, Trattmann, Pinot Noir Riserva 21, 14 alcohol, and Ignaz Niedrist, Südtirol Blauburgunder 20, Riserva 2020, 13.5 alcohol. So as you can see, French word for the cooperative Pinot Noir, while German for the family estate. That is a choice. You can call Pinot Noir, Blauburgunder, or Pinot Nero in Italian. More focus on the international markets, of course, in the move the cooperative, more traditionalist for the German-speaking, the family estate. But they have long history, so the cooperative Girlan Cornaiano, that is the name of the village, Girlan Cornaiano, is around 102 years. It was one of the very top, then they slowed down end of last century, and this century they push hard to regain the fame that they had before. They are very famous for Pinot Noirs in particular. Now they make two single vineyards, very premium also in price. Gerard, the winemaker, is there more than 15 years. He did a lot of changes. They had historical good locations of farmers. So basically, as I explained before, they are all small farms, 1-2 hectares usually, and they all go together with the cooperative under the instructions of agronomists and enologists, so they can strive for quality under the guidance. And then they have the proper grapes in the best locations. So of course majority of the farmers are in that area of the village, but they have also in other locations. So Marzon, the most famous for Pinot Noir, so that is very important. And in this way they can reach top results with most of the wines. Niedrist instead, about 200 years of history, is also in Girlan, Cornaiano, the same village, so they are neighbors, we say. They were quite famous before, already bottling. Then after the First World War, when Alto Adige became part of Italy, before it was Austria, so that's why they speak German first language. So after the First World War they had troubles. In 89 Ignaz Niedrist restarted to bottle and improved, increased the acreage, and nowadays his son and daughter are joining forces, so there is a bright future for them. It's a top quality winery, making, of course they don't have the vineyards so spread like the cooperative, but they have them around that area a bit, so they can have better location for the different grapes. Of course they don't make all the grapes of the region, while the cooperative most of is making. As said, Mazzon is the most famous area, so it's in the valley of the river, south of Bolzano, the town. On the eastern slopes, there is really Burgundian in every mean, 350-400 meters, clay limestone, so very classic. Southwest exposure. The slopes are very gentle, it's not steep, and is the best location. So the Trattmann Pinot Noir Riserva is mostly coming from there, while a part of it and the other one are from Girlan, Cornaiano, the village, which is just close to Bolzano, southwest, on a sort of plateau with different soils, and we'll see later, and about 450 meters, so it's a bit higher altitude. I start to pour, bottles open a while as usual. I will do next day tasting, of course, very necessary for these wines. They are not too young, but not that age, 21 and 20, so still quite young. So they will need time to open up for sure. The color you may see already, quite ruby light, both of them, no big difference. Is a bit the classic in Alto Adige, like in many other parts of the world. Burgundy has a bit more intense color. It's even not easy to explain why. Because, for example, here the maceration is quite long, 3 weeks. So there is more extraction, but the color is still pretty much the same as the other, which is only 2 weeks maceration. So that is a characteristic. Probably even the terroir making it like that, besides the winemaking style. So I said the two main areas are not just for them, also for other wineries, Mazzon and surrounding villages, and this part Appiano is really the village, the main commune near Girlan, Cornaiano. So these are the two main areas in the southern part where Pinot Noir is giving great results. As said, many similarities in the philosophy and also in other points we'll see, but also some differences, especially in the winemaking. So let's start with Girlan, Trattmann. It's an historical wine, this name. I think they changed in the time. Before should have been only from Mazzon area. Now, in recent times, I think they changed a bit the recipe of the grapes to get probably a better balance, even because they make several labels of Pinot Noir. So it's a Riserva. Riserva doesn't exist by law, but is intended as a longer aging wine. So in general, they are at least 2 years age, but there is not a specific. In their case, they do, so of course, first 3 weeks maceration, 10% of whole cluster, which means even the stems inside, like in Burgundy they do, to extract a bit more tannin. So this is interesting because lately I didn't find it easily out of Burgundy. And after the 3 weeks maceration, they go in barrique and bigger size casks for a year. Then they assemble all the wine for 8 months in huge casks to stabilize, harmonize, and then another 8 months minimum in bottles. So it's almost 13 months, so 2.5 years almost. As said, majority from Mazzon, a smaller part from Girlan. So in Mazzon, clay, limestone, quite old vines, but they don't specify. While in Girlan, it's different. It's morainic deposits from the glacier on top of volcanic porphyry. So that is similar to what we saw for the whites for the Chardonnay from Girlan, because this area near Bolzano, the underneath rock is mostly volcanic porphyry. So Girlan is not far from Girlan in line. So this is interesting. The clay limestone, classic, and then this gravelly morainic top on porphyry volcanic, so a bit more minerality. He's nearby, he's even mentioning this volcanic porphyry with gneiss and granite, so a bit more different rock. Eventually is a bit different location from them. Fruit immediately, red berries mostly. A classic note of the Alto Adige Pinot Noirs in general is herbal. They are traditionalists, besides environmental friendly, even the organic fertilizer, both of them sustainable in many ways, but also they are quite traditional. They tend to use more bigger casks, which are quite classic there, just a bit of barriques. Elegant immediately, no doubt. So besides the fruit, you have minerality. Of course, both limestone or the volcanic porphyry give that, especially with the aged vines. They don't specify, but I guess they are all about 30 years, so that helps. You have a touch of herbal for now, not much. So mostly the fruit, very refined, I would say. Everything is delicate, and the minerality marking and the touch of herbal. Already quite good balance. It's well harmonized, and you have nice acidity, which is high in both of them. It's quite a characteristic there because there is a lot of excursion. The mountains are very high nearby, so it's a bit different. So already the grape itself has high acidity, here even more. It's a nice acidity, nice minerality, good depth, really pleasant also. You have a touch of fruit giving you a bit of sweetness. So it's very nice as first approach. Yes, changing a bit, but not that much yet. A bit more herbal, some ethereal, also something like graphite, I would say. 21 was also a tough vintage, so with more acidity, but it's really already quite well integrated. It's a very nice wine. As I remember, I know it since long time. I was selling it back in the days. It's always a great wine. Of course, it's still a bit young, but the pleasant palate, the length is super. So let's say Niedrist, 1 year older, quite different nose. So as said, sustainable. They really look for biodiversity in their vineyards. They are focusing a lot on an harmonic approach with nature. The only point is that they use barriques only for the aging. So they do 2 weeks maceration, is up to 30 years old vines, age in a quarter of new barriques, the rest are used for a bit more than a year, and then it's bottle refined. So much less oak, but barrique, which of course make it more similar to Burgundy. Here there is more intensity. Besides the fruit, you have the spiciness indeed. Even a bit darker fruit, I would say, not just red, but then some spicy is more intense. The other is more delicate. Vintage different, of course, also is also 1 year older, so also that has a weight in the comparison. So this one, as said, the bottom is mostly volcanic porphyry with gneiss granite, and on top there is this morainic gravel from the glacier melting. So it's really different soil from Burgundy, but the winemaking is quite similar. It's a bit rounder on the palate. Even this one acidity high, but slightly lower. Good persistence. I guess the aging potential here is not that huge compared to the other. The other can age better, but for sure both can age about 10 years. So this, of course, is not single vineyard like in Burgundy. It's not that old vines. So these are two limitations for the aging potential, for the complexity also. So here we have to compare to a Burgundy village, let's say a Vaux Romanée, Gevrey-Chambertin, things like that. That is the proper comparison. They are aged longer because in Burgundy we know they age usually 1 year or 1.5 and then they bottle and they sell after 2 years. So this is in advance. That's why they focus with the Riserva term. But of course, they are still missing some things that will come with the time, the age of vines in particular, which will give more depth, more complexity, and more aging potential. Yeah, the minerality I was expecting a bit more. In the end, is more remarkable in the Girlan one than here, where the subsoil is volcanic more, but you smell it less, you also taste it less. So the most is the fruit, even a bit darker. The spicy, very little touch of herbal note, but start to change a bit even this time. So we will see much more in tomorrow's tasting indeed. So far, this is rounder, more spicy, a bit richer for what we can talk about a Pinot Noir. Even though with 2 weeks maceration, the extraction is less, but that is also probably the vintage difference. Good length, very pleasant. Yeah, less fresh and mineral on the palate compared to the other. More ready to drink even itself. Honestly, this one, of course, is good with a nice meat, but this is easily drinkable even itself. We see more in the tomorrow's tasting. Here we are, 24 hours later. I do one by one and I start the other way from Niedrist this time. So they showed already much more yesterday evening. The point that I mentioned about richer was also related to something I forgot yesterday to mention. Here there is 30 hectoliter per hectare the production, while for Girlan is 40 hectoliters, so it's a big difference. So that made me think also a bit, also that it was the reason why I put it as second, even if usually the other one being a bit rounder is better first. But in the end, a bit less acidity, and then it's rounder anyway, even if it has a bit more. Then I thought also the barrique, there was a lot of fruit and spicy, and then slowly change. So a touch of mushroomy, a touch of earthy, even a bit of balsamic yesterday evening. Now the minerality is marking really well, and is even cleaner the nose. This is something strange, like more refined than yesterday. Yeah, really. So changed quite a lot, honestly. Even here the minerality is marking a bit more than yesterday. You have still that touch of mushroomy, of herbal, a bit more also. So quite complex, quite interesting. It's a very nice wine. Both are very good, as you may have understood. It's a matter of details. There are many differences in the winemaking and in the soil, and then different vintages. As I said, 21 more acidity. But they are both. This one, in a way, can be more comparable probably to any French wine, with these characteristics shown. Of course, the minerality usually in Burgundy is marking more. This is a bit smoother in a way in that, but the characters and the flavors and aromas are quite similar to several Burgundy. Let's go to Trattmann from Girlan. This one showed much more herbal, which, as I said, is typical of Alto Adige, but at the moment seems more complexity shown by Niedrist. Yeah, now is again the fruit, first of all, quite prominent. in the minerality as it started yesterday. The herbal, even a touch of spicy came out even now, but very little compared to the other. Peppery, something like that. But the herbal is more relevant. Always very refined, very elegant. The other, in a way, we could say a bit more rustic at the beginning, with those notes, and more refined today. So even that is comparable to some Generation Bertin, I would say. This is less comparable in case of maybe more something like Chambol Musigny. And the palate is repeating the same things. Very, 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 very pleasant. Feeling the mouth in there and all the components. So it's overall, in the one day, it's slightly less complex than Niedrist, but has much more elegance and finesse, we can say, and is a bit more classy, yes. The other has a bit more to show, is a bit more diverse and change a lot from yesterday to today, but less refined. So great comparison also between them, first of all, and then with the Burgundy. I'm quite impressed, very highly rated. You know, I don't like to give points, so I hope you enjoyed and discovered something I forgot. They are both around 40 euros. In Italy, I bought them recently, so they are very reasonable prices for the products that they are. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, please support us to let us grow, and salute.